ladies and gents, we are live. We will be covering good old Joe Biden, and he is dropping out of the race. So that's what we will be covering today. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We got a lot going on. It's going to be interesting because you asked us this a few weeks ago. We didn't, a lot of people didn't see this coming. So it's going to be interesting to see where his mind is at when it comes down to talking to America. See if he's going to be clear. Is they going to blame him being sick on a lot of things? So what I'm going to try to do is not get a copyright by just showing the video, but I will have the audio available for you guys so y'all can hear what's going on. For example, let's get it popping.
More important than any title, and he will outline his remaining 6 months in office. Pressure to drop out had been mounting for weeks following his alarming debate performance against Donald Trump. The president revealing his decision Sunday in a letter addressed to my fellow Americans, acknowledging, quote, "I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down." Tonight's address, a defining moment in his presidency, passing the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, now the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee. The president will signal tonight he will now fight for his vice president. Let's listen to President Biden.
Here it go.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. In recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. There is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
A moment in history tonight, President Biden in the Oval Office. You heard him say there to the American people, I revere this office. I love my country more. He talked about this being not about me, it's about you, it's about we the people. He said, we cannot forget that. I never have. He did ask this question. He says, does character in public life still matter as we head toward the November election? And he said nothing should come in the way of preserving democracy in this country. We do have our entire Powerhouse political team here tonight. Let's get right to
it. Ladies and gents, so what we just seen here was President Joe Biden dropping out and giving his speech on why he's dropping out, what's going on, getting everybody hip to what's popping. Who is that pulling up at my house? And he talked about a few things. He talked about what he achieved while he was in office. Let me see, who is this? Oh, that's Amazon person. Okay, that's Amazon. He talked about what he achieved when he is office. He talked about, I would love to know the research on a border crossing. He said border crossing is at an all-time low. That really don't make sense. I don't believe that, but, you know, we're going to go with what he ended up saying with that. And he said it's a passing of the torch. It is a passing of the torch. He said he already made his decision on who he going to vote for. He's going with Harris. So he gave her a great endorsement in his speech. And it's interesting to see what Trump is going, you know, he's about to go on True Social and say something. So let's see if I can pull up what he's about to say. But let's see what's the common reactions right now of what people on ABC News.
Well, Mary, I wanted to read
saying.
you a statement moments ago that came in, some color, in fact, if you will, from inside the White House. Someone inside this circle, the close circle, who has spent time with the president and the family over the last few days, the Biden family, telling ABC News tonight that the only thing I can say is, contrary to the reports I've heard, there is no anger, no remorse with the Biden family. There is only a deep sense of pride and an enormous amount of gratitude and appreciation for the overwhelming recognition of Biden as a true patriot and historic defender of democracy.
And David, I think that is a sentiment that is shared not only by the family, but also by the staff here at the White House. I can tell you that right now, there are about 500 members of the president's staff, people who have devoted so much time and energy to this administration and his fight for what the country can stand for. They are now right now huddled in the state dining room, in the East Room, watching these remarks all together, witnessing this history together, David.
No question, a difficult and challenging night for that team that has worked so closely with the president and even the Biden family themselves, having been able to get used to this decision over the evolution Saturday, Sunday, into early this week. It still must be profound to have watched Jill watch her husband and the rest of the family watch their father, their grandfather, deliver the news in that way tonight. Mary, thank you. Stay with us here. I know our coverage is going to continue. Mary's going to be back in just a moment, but I do want to bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
So let's see what both sides are saying. Let's first see what they're saying. I typed in the CNN, but let's see what they're talking about over here.
And it was a real investment in the clean air and water that our communities depend on.
This is a terrible idea, interviewing them outside. It sounds crazy. You can't hear that.
Yes, I think Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that's a terrible, terrible decision they did. So let's see CNN News live. Okay, they're going back to Trump right there. ABC.
And deepest fears in Europe roared back to life because once again, a murderous madman was on the march.
He's just replaying old stuff. So the only live ones we have right now that I see is ABC.
Most was a week ago Saturday when Chuck Schumer, the Senate leader, of course, remember, Joe Biden is a man of the Senate. He spent most of his life serving in the Senate. So when the Democratic leader of the Senate went to see him at Rehoboth Beach, and as we first reported, urged him to take this step in the name for his own good, for the good of his party, for the good of his country. I'm told that at the end of that meeting, Biden said to Schumer, "I need another week." And the two men hugged and went on. So it was exactly a week.
You have to realize what really just happened. Let's really talk about it. Let's kick it for a hot second. You're going to hear airplanes going over and all that stuff. But where's my camera? So let's talk about it for a second. What really just happened, you got to think. You was just the most powerful man in the world. Think of that. Like, men, we have our egos and all that type of stuff. You made it to number one. You're the most powerful person. Whatever you say, go. You can start a war. You can print money. You can do whatever you want. And what I notice of my time of living is the worst people to accept their situation is older men. Because what happens is, as a man, you go from your youth age, being a kid, having fun, until you turn a teenager, a high teenager, like 16, 14, 15, whatever age, and you start getting that grown man strength. You're like, oh, man, mom and dad can't talk to me like they used to talk to me. You get that puberty, you get that grown man strength, and you start weight training in high school, you start hitting weights and all that type of stuff. You start building character, start building muscles, and you become a young man, then a young adult. And what happens is you get stronger, you grow, and you become very masculine. And as you go with your age, you go from 20 to 30 to we just say 30 is your prime. We just say 30 is your prime of your most physical well-being self. Now with technology is going a little bit further. But what happens is when you go 60, 70, 80, all of your big this, somebody come in the crib, somebody try to come break in my crib right now, I'm beating their ass. It's that simple. It's like, because I hit the gym today, it's like, I'm at that point. But when I'm 80, somebody come in the crib, they getting popped. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? So you don't go from, you go from that physical masculine person to now you're not walking the same. You're not talking the same. You can't do the same things. The things you used to do around your house, you can't help out. So our identity of being a man is being a protector and a provider. You take one of those or both of those away, we lose something. So Joe Biden, you're taking away his power. He cannot protect his country. He can't provide. He can't do anything. So it's like, oh, man, just go sit down and be old and die. And his mind, so he didn't want us give up that seat. He was like, no, I'm not giving up the seat. I'm going to run again. Worst case scenario, I'm going to die. And I'm going to stand on business. That's the mindset. But what started happening was you had too many people that wasn't just in the Republican Party. You had people on the Democratic side and the Republican side like, hey, Joe, nah, you need to step down. Like, you need to step down. Him doing that debate versus Trump, that was the end. A lot of Democrats didn't want to admit it. That was the end. We seen grandpa up there that had a little bit of dementia mixed with a lot of different things where he didn't understand what was going on and he wasn't as sharp, wasn't as fine as we need as somebody to run a country, and everybody went in panic mode. The problem is the people on the inside already knew this, and they should be ashamed of themselves for hiding it for so long. I believe I did a video and I was covering, George Clooney. George Clooney has been a big Biden supporter, big Democrat supporter, and he recently wrote an article. So he first talked to Obama. He like, hey, Obama, you care if I give some game of what's going on, right? Obama like, man, do what you got to do. And he wrote an article basically saying, look, the Joe Biden I once knew is now the Joe Biden that y'all seen on live TV. He's not capable of running our country. So when you have people that's close to him that have your best interests, it's telling like, hey, he's not capable of running a country and being successful at it. Got to get him up out of there. So the way he handled that, I can give him all the type of credit, because if it was Trump, yeah, good luck with that. So for him to hand it down, you're handing down your Iron Throne, not just to someone else, you're handing it down to a woman. Not just to a woman, you're handing it down to a woman of color. That's a lot for him. That is a lot for him. So I wish President Joe Biden the best. I wish him well. I'm sending him positive vibes and good energy. We gonna see. Let me know if y'all thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If y'all believe Harris have a real chance, because she is a woman. She is a woman of color. It's gonna be tough for her. It's gonna be tough. But let me know y'all thoughts in the comments, and I will talk to y'all soon.